Ghana settled for the details in today's edition of The Pulse. Now, Ghanaian products risk potential blacklisting and ban in the United States of America if the anti-LGBTIQ is passed in its present form. That's a warning coming from the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer, who insists the bill is hostile, discriminatory, and undermines the rights of people who promote, practice, and associate with the LGBTI community. The Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Value Bill 2021, sponsored by Ningo Prampram MP Sam George and 7 others, is yet to be considered by the House. Addressing the American Chamber of Commerce events here in Accra, the Ambassador Virginia Palmer says it will be hard for her to promote Ghana as an investment destination if the bill is passed.
Treating existing investors, you here in this room, well, tangibly improves the investment climate. And unnecessary barriers to entry and partnership, such as high minimum thresholds for investment, hinder it. We have terrific small and medium-sized enterprises on both sides of the Atlantic that could be partnering on creating new ventures. For Ghanaian companies facing really sky-high interest rates, an investment infusion of even $50,000 could be transformational. And why inhibit that? But when we talk about lowering barriers to trade and investment, we also need to talk about treating people fairly and ensuring your employees are safe and protected from legalized discrimination. So I want to broach a subject which I know is a little bit sensitive, but it has a more important business context than most people realize. Ghana's parliament is considering a bill that would curtail the human rights of the LGBT community, their families, allies, and quite frankly, all Ghanaians. Everybody has opinions about the issue, and I respect those opinions very much, even if I disagree with them. But very few people have read the bill. I think very few people understand that the reality is that the bill undermines the basic free speech rights that Ghanaians otherwise enjoy. The goal of the bill, the drafters are not shy about advertising, is to make Ghana hostile not only to LGBT people, but to anyone who even sympathizes with them. It seeks to make illegal all discussion and all media that even mentions LGBT issues. So journalists would be arrested, landlords would be arrested, mothers and fathers could be arrested. If passed, the bill will make it harder for you not only to recruit and hire the best people from overseas, but it will marginalize educated and hardworking Ghanaians by making it clear that they are unwelcome. I have no doubt that such legislation would have a chilling effect on Ghana as an investment destination. Companies have already talked to me about American consumers being unwilling to buy things that are made in a country with such repressive legislation. It will make it harder for me to sell Ghana as an investment and trade destination. So the legislation, in addition to undermining public health and public order, would reduce Forex inflows, cut into your bottom line, and reduce your workforce options, not something Ghana's suffering business environment needs now. I'm truly thankful for those of you who've had the courage to raise these issues with Ghanaian policymakers. As representatives of the business community and as the partners Ghana needs to be a truly inclusive 21st century economy, your voices need to be heard now more than ever. So to sum up, implementing simple pro-business policies could accelerate the diaspora megatrend that we are all seeing and some of you are embodying. But Ghana won't benefit automatically from that trend. Foreign companies moving here to invest and employ Ghanaians need to see trade, regulation, and legal frameworks that allow businesses to thrive while protecting their employees. I remain optimistic that Ghana's tolerance and democracy will prevail and that her stability will continue to thrive, and Black Star Rising will continue to be a beacon for the rest of West Africa and beyond. And I trust that with your help, challenges in the business environment will be overcome. And you can count on my help and the help of the team at the embassy to magnify your voices, to have quiet words in the ear of the president or the ministers, or to speak out publicly when required.
While addressing the United Nations Program on Human Rights in New York, sponsor of the bill, Sam George, says he's only seeking to protect the moral sanctity of the Ghanaian society.
As a natural-born man, a charismatic Christian, a husband of one woman, a father of 3 children, and an elected member of Ghana's parliament, I hold the role of the family extremely sacred. I believe that the right to found a family and determine same is a right that accrues to everyone within the context and spirit of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and several other recognized international treaties like the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. 75 years after the UDHR, the spirit and letter are more poignant than at any other time in our history. At a time in our world where supposedly progressive forces are agitating for a redefinition of the core principles of what a family is and represent in a somewhat regressive manner, the genuinely progressive voices like those in this room must rise in defense of family, its values and protections. The concept of the natural family is under attack, and a siege is being attempted on the spirit of the Declaration of Human Rights. Let me be clear here and now, sirs and ma'ams. There is a distinct difference between sex and gender or gender identity. The pseudo-war being waged by some against the family is premised on this obfuscation and literal obliteration of the distinction between sex and gender. Sex is a biological construct that transcends race, ethnicity, religion, and jurisdictional jurisprudence. Sex is binary. You're either male or female. God determines this at the moment of conception. A fetus carries either the XX or XY chromosome, determining whether it is born female or male. From my beloved Ningo Prampram constituency in Accra, Ghana, to New York, and Rio de Janeiro to Madrid or Delhi to Perth, the interpretation of XY and XX is constant. Gender or gender identity, on the other hand, is a social construct that has evolved on the peculiarities of various societies. From the onset matching the binary nature of sex, we see different recognitions of gender today across the world. There is no universality in the concept of gender or gender identity, and it is highly fluid. And as such, gender or gender identity cannot form the basis for any rights accruing in a covenant, a convention, or international treaty which seeks to be globally acceptable and binding because we have different interpretations. This is the basis for my avowed position that the letter and spirit of the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights is apt and meets the needs of our global world today. It emphasizes in Article 2 of the rights, the rights and freedoms in the Declaration, and is clear that there shall be no distinctions made based on sex. Yes, it says sex, not gender or gender identity. This is a definite position and must be defended by all progressive forces. The UDHR in Article 16.1 makes yet another actual position that I cherish and implore all of us to hold fast and dear, that the right to marry and found a family shall be between men and women of full age, without prejudice to their race, nationality, or religion. Yes, it says men and women, not men and men or women and women. Yet again, this is another reinforcement of the principle of sex and not gender. As a proud African, Article 2 of our African Charter on Human and People's Rights also echoes the principles of enjoyment of rights without prejudice to sex and not gender. As Africans, the role of the family is cardinal to our society and its well-being. To reinforce this, Article 18 of the African Charter recognizes the family as society's natural unit and basis. It imposes a responsibility on member states in the African Union to protect the physical health and morals of the family. Yes, it said morals of the family. It declares the family as the custodian of morals and traditional values recognized by the community. The Charter says there is no ambiguity here, that the values of family as a union between a natural-born man and woman must be protected by all of us. Against this backdrop, together with 7 of my colleagues in Ghana's Parliament, I'm sponsoring a private member's bill titled The Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Families Values Bill 2021 in Ghana's Parliament. In conclusion, I reference a critical role that a family plays in the development of society through the development, education, and upbringing of children. Article 18.3 and 4 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights declares respect for the liberties of parents and legal guardians to ensure their children's religious and moral education in conformity with the convictions of the parents and legal guardians. This right is not given to an educational board or a pressure group or a government. It is the sole right and preserve of parents in the family unit. Ladies and gentlemen here gathered at the UN headquarters in New York, the family must remain respected and recognized as the union between natural-born men and women of full age, who have the right and responsibility to determine by their beliefs and in conformity with the generality of their community.
So that's Sam George before the United Nations General Assembly in New York, advancing the reason why this particular bill he together with 7 others are sponsoring must be given a hearing. Now, in the studio is one of the sponsors, the Member of Parliament for Ho West, Emmanuel Bejra. Mr. Bejra, you're welcome to the Policy on Joy News.
Elton.
Of course, also on via Zoom, we have Dr. Ishmael Lovo, International Relations Expert. Doctor, you're welcome to the Policy on Joy News. If you can kindly unmute for us.
Okay, I think I've unmuted.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. And good afternoon, welcome. I trust you had a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, good afternoon to you and your viewers. And good afternoon to the Honorable in the studio.
All right. Right. So you also watching us on Joy News. You can also join with your comments, your contribution. If you have any question at all, you can as well leave it on our social media handles and we'll bring it out to the attention of our resource persons this afternoon. So we look at this very delicate issue that is before our Parliament. Let me start with Honorable Bejra, because he's one of the 7 sponsors of the bill. This is a private member's motion, so it has no government backing, if you like. This is the initiative of members of Parliament, and because the rules allow them to do so, that is how come they have put this bill before Parliament. And if it finds favor with members of Parliament, it will pass, and then per the President's own directive, it can become a law that all of us will have to live by. Honorable Bejra, once again, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So let's quickly run through where we are now. I know, for example, the committee presented its report on the floor. The report was adopted, which means that the policy and principles of the bill has been accepted by members of Parliament. What is next is for the bill to be taken to second reading, where we're going to have the consideration of the clauses, and then we'll see what happens afterwards. So where are we, if you can just quickly let us why it's taking so long for the second reading to start?
Thank you very much, Elton, and good afternoon to my colleague, panelists, and your viewers. Let me say that the bill has gone to the second reading already. Okay. This is the report from the committee. It's passed to the second reading.
So we are now going to consideration?
Yes, we've almost there. In fact, I should have brought our votes and proceedings as well as our... it's been advertised since Monday, last week Monday, for the consideration stage. And so our understanding is that before we rise on the 22nd of this month, 22nd of December, we have passed the bill. What we've done largely, since the private members bill, we've agreed with the committee, that's the Legal Constitution Committee, to go through the bill and agree as to areas that we need to make changes, amend, which we have done. We've accepted it largely. And also, together with our sponsors, we have the coalition of proper human sexual rights that sponsor the bill through us as private members and the general public. And so there are few changes to the original bill, which we have all accepted. So as for the consideration, I think 1 or 2 days should be able to finish with.
So how many clauses do we have in the bill?
Currently, we have close to 27 clauses. 24 clauses of the bill. And the last one is the consequential amendment, which is 24 clauses that this bill has. It's not any big bill that cannot pass in a day.
In a day, all right. So let me get your initial reaction to the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, who says that what you are seeking to promote is hostile, discriminatory, and should have no, space as far as a society that encourages everybody to do what is right and what is fair before the law. It shouldn't be encouraged. What is your initial reaction to it?
Well, Elton, we did not start by promoting this bill in Parliament. We took into consideration the Ghanaians' view as well as research that was done by CDD. That was in 2018 when USAID commissioned CDD to conduct the research as to whether Ghanaians will accept, gay marriage as well as LGBT program in this country. In fact, close to about 80% of Ghanaians says that they will not accept it. It shows clearly that Ghanaians are not in favor with any of this lifestyle that we call it lifestyle. It's not a human rights issue at all. Any of this lifestyle in our society. And so we said, well, if that is it, then why don't we legislate? We legislate because we are here, we are in Parliament as a moral compass, the moral conscience of Ghanaians. You send us there to make sure that we have laws that protect our own sanctity, protect our morality, protect our values, and protect our culture norms. And as we have in our own 1992 Constitution, we still have where we need to protect our culture values in the country. And so we said, well, let's put our heads together, and through the help of the coalition, we came out with this private members bill, which was largely accepted. Elton, it will interest you to know that the day we pass it, that's the second reading, 275 members of parliament all approved that it should go through the last stage, which is the consideration, the third reading. So largely, if the conscience, 275 members of parliament decides and they agree that this should go through and become a law protecting our sanctity in this country, I don't see why anybody from anywhere would be against it. Fair enough. This morning I granted an interview, to one of your sister stations, and I told them, I said, why would the U.S. ambassador, his counterpart in Saudi Arabia, decide that, well, America will not do business with Saudi Arabia or Qatar or any of the Arab countries? Why is she doing this into Ghana? Why is it that it's only Ghana that wants to pass this bill, and she's propagating that we should not pass it? If we pass it, America will not do business. She can go to hell. For us, we care less about it.
Isn't that too strong a word to use?
No, she can go to hell. And I'll tell you why she can go to hell. We have been subservient to this, America for a very long time. And it looks like anytime there is anything, then they hold you by your buttocks, they hold you by your prick, and they say, well, if you don't do this, I will not do this into you. Why can't we now have a strategic decision that we decide that we want to be on our own than depending on American? Fair enough, we've signed AGWA, we've signed, all kinds of agreement with America. And so will you say the agreement that we signed with you through the AGWA, you will now say that you repeal it and will not go by your own agreement, that we cannot import our goods to American market? Then we will also not allow any of the American businesses to fetter in this country. To operate in this country. Fair enough. We have other countries that we can do business with. Is it only America that we can do business with? She should stop propagating this lie. She should stop doing what she's doing.
She's only referring what the bill contains.
Yes.
Her comments finds expression in some of the clauses that are in the bill. So you can't say that she's propagating
so she should tell us, well, so we asked initially, when we send memo, we ask people should present their memo. Has she presented a memo to us that she doesn't want this on that clause? She's looking at the entirety of the bill and so we should rubbish it, we should not even pass it. She's not being fair to us at all. We are in 275 intelligent Ghanaians put out there or voted for in Parliament, and we decided to come out with a bill. And you are telling us that for us, we don't know what we are doing. If she has gone through this bill, and if there are area clauses that she do not agree with, she should simply write a memo to the committee, and the committee would have included
look at it. And
now,
it.
those who have written memo to us, that has find its expression in the amendments that we have. I can tell you some of the amendments that we propose.
We'll come to that. I'm actually having in front of me the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, their own assessment on what is before Parliament and what they think that is wrong or is right. But let me also bring in Dr. Ishmael to pick his initial reaction to the issue on the table. Dr. Ishmael Lovo, so you heard the U.S. ambassador to Ghana. You've also listened to a sponsor of the bill, Mr. Honorable Bejra. What do you think should be the middle ground as an international relations expert?
Good afternoon once again to you and your viewers. I think that this is an issue largely based on morality and what a society considers as the most appropriate way of life. But having said that, we must recognize that the U.S. ambassador have to say what he said, because he comes from a particular society where they have accepted that a man could marry a man and a woman could equally marry a woman. And therefore, we have to accord her the right to say what she has said, because in their society, the gay lobby is a powerful political force. They could unseat MPs, if you want to call them that way, and the president. So therefore, in that society, the political class is quite sensitive to issues of gay rights. But having said that, we must also recognize that passing this bill will have implications in terms of how we do business with some countries in the world, particularly with the Western world. Whether we like it or not, the Western world has always been able to cajole us into doing things that sometimes contrary to our will. If you look at Uganda, for instance, which has passed one of the most draconian anti-gay legislation, you observe that the U.S. actually have reviewed their status under AGWA, and therefore they are no longer eligible under AGWA as it is. And of course, there has been travel restriction on their top level officials. But of course, the Ugandan bill is extreme. That in some instances, it prescribes death penalty for some offenses under the law. In our case, of course, once this bill is passed, some countries like the US will update their travel advice, their travel advisory guidelines to their citizens. And most citizens, when they want to invest, they rely on some of these guidelines that their nations put across to make decisions concerning destination. So I think that what the ambassador was trying to communicate is the fact that if you pass the legislation, then automatically some U.S. citizens who may be members of this group will feel uncomfortable to do business with them, which is natural, which is true.
And already, Doctor, I mean, this morning or last night at the American Chamber of Commerce event, the U.S. ambassador was quite clear that in the U.S., for example, right now, there is some kind of, hatred attached to some Ghanaian products on the U.S. market. And as an ambassador, it will be very difficult for her to promote Ghana as ideal place for trade and investments if the bill is passed in its present form. So clearly, the warnings are clear on the wall.
But the problem with the ambassador's position is that she has not given us a clear indication of which aspect of the bill she wants to be reviewed. She just said in its current form. As the honorable member was speaking,
clearly, her issue relates to the fact that the bill appears to infringe on the rights of people who are in this kind of trade, if you like.
Yes, of course. So as I said, we must also be ready to take some of the costs, because every action you take will have some cost. The cost will be that if I am gay, I will not be comfortable investing in Ghana, so we must be prepared to let go of gay investment. Of course, we must also appreciate that in the U.S., it is not a single constituency. Yeah, indeed, there is a strong U.S. group that is anti-gay. In fact, the majority of the conservative parts are actually anti-gay. It's not everybody in the U.S. who is gay, pro-gay. In fact, it's only because what we see is like an aggregation of the various views that the political leaders project a particular segment of society that they think it reflects the whole of society. But indeed, even within her own country, there are strong anti-gay groups. There are strong family-oriented groups. So, of course, we'll lose some, we'll get some. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be like we are going to war with the U.S. In fact, it's all a matter of how we interpret human society, human collectivity. As Africans, yes, we have taken the stand that we are not yet at a stage where we will allow men to marry men. It also reflects stages in development. Perhaps if we have developed and we have the luxury, you may be the ones promoting it, because at the end of the day, we have the resources to cater for this group. Remember, this group is a high-risk group. You need a lot of resources to equip the hospital to be able to deal with their peculiar health needs. So it's not a matter of just trying to give them their right, if you put it that way. It's also a matter of having the right socio-economic environment that allow the government and the institutions that are responsible to provide the needed assistance to them to live. So if at this point in our development, we feel like it is not appropriate, it is right that we are giving that respect as a society, but we must also not expect that after passing the bill, business will continue as usual. Indeed, if the bill contains serious infringement on human rights, you expect the Western-led international world to react. Indeed, in the case of Uganda again, the World Bank actually frees additional lending.
Absolutely, they are suffering for that.
Yes, of course. So, but then as a country, you get to a point where you have to ask yourself, what is the way out? Is it always bending to the demands of other people, or there's a point where you think that on this particular issue, you are right? If you look at it, indeed, whereas the African countries may have a reason to push for some of this legislation. Currently, as we say, the only place where young people are and the rest of the world are trying to recruit is in Africa. There are young people here because people continue to give birth. Whereas that is the asset Africa have going into the future. In the next 20 or so years, what Africa has is the population. So perhaps this may be a strategy, but for African countries to also stake a claim. Indeed, some of the development that have occurred in other parts of the, like the Chinese, is about the population.
Right.
So if we feel that maybe at this point we are right and they are wrong, as it were, it's just a matter of getting ready to take the course, because you can't pass a legislation like this and expect the others to come around as usual. Indeed, there will be some course that you have
some issues that we'll have to deal with. All right, Dr. Ishmael Lobo, I'll come to you for you to wrap up on this matter. But let me again come back to the studio and to put a question directly to Honorable Emmanuel Bejua. The question is, if on my own volition, I decide that I want to follow a certain sexual, preference, why should that be a concern for you as Member of Parliament to regulate how I should live my life?
It should be a concern to us. It should be a concern. You live in an environment. An environment is Ghanaian environment. And the Ghanaian environment has laws. Ghanaian environment has, certain moral values that we cherish. As a Ghanaian, you are not supposed to do things beyond your own moral values. Where you are coming from, the Ashanti region, there are certain Ashanti cultural norms that you have to, when you get to Asante Hini's place, you have to bow. Will you say because now you have arrived, you've reached, where you are supposed to be, therefore you are no longer an Ashanti? No, you're a Ghanaian. And so if you have moral values, you have laws that we all cherish, why don't you go by it?
Some say the world has evolved.
Yes, the world has evolved. The world has evolved because those of them who think it has evolved will continue to do whatever they are doing. Go to America, for instance. Just as he has mentioned, the birth rate in America or the population is reducing. Other places they are reducing. In Europe, it's reducing. Why? Because they decide a man should marry a man. Can a man give birth? Can a man and a man who are in a relationship, can they, produce? They cannot procreate. And so we want to procreate. We Africans, we believe that the best thing is to procreate. And he has mentioned it, that our population is an asset to us. And so why don't we believe in that asset and create development for ourselves, create economy for ourselves, than depending on others who will continue to cause us to believe in what they believe in.
But can't this be done without infringing on the rights of those who want to practice this trade?
Come again?
I must say, whether can't you achieve what you are seeking to achieve without infringing on the rights of people in
We'll not come to your bedroom to arrest you when you are doing it. Okay? We are saying that don't do it. And so just as a thief, if a thief is caught, you'll go to the court. Now, if you are caught, you by all means be sent to court for whatever sanctions that need to be done. And so we are not telling you that in simple terms, we are not telling you that go by all we are saying. If you know what you are doing is right, do it in your bedroom. But when you come out to do it, the law will take its own course.
The Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice has issues with Clause 12.2 and Clause 15 and 16. Clause 12.2 seeks to guard any form of advocacy aimed at protecting LGBTI persons from acts of intimidation, assault, harassment, violence, homophobia, which undermines their rights to live as human beings, devoid of their rights to live without fear. And Clause 16 and 15 and 16 says that these clauses violate the rights to freedom of expression and opinions, freedom of association, freedom of assembly and movement, which are critical for protecting the rights of LGBT persons to mount advocacy campaigns to protect themselves from imminent danger or threats to their life occasioned by homophobic propaganda. Strike things that these clauses, some of them, you must find a way to make it more friendly.
Yes, we have done some of this. We have done some amendment. It's yet to go through the go through what we call the amendment stage.
Yeah.
And as soon as it goes through the consideration stage, I can give you a typical example,
right?
As you mentioned, clause 16. But I will come to 17 first. Let me start with
yes.
17, where you have the various forms of prohibition to LGBTQ. We've noticed that, for instance, if you talk about intersex is a natural form of deformity. We cannot say it's because God, you have two sexual organs, that is the male and female, and therefore you should be punished for that. And so we're taking that out. So there's no intersex in our bill. At the end of the day, intersex will not be part of those who will be punished and if you decide to go to have any medical, operation, surgical operation to align your gender, your sex with whatever chromosome that you have, that is left to you to do, and the bill gives you, that support to do it. Now, that is the intersex part. Now, when it comes to propaganda, we are saying that we don't want the propaganda bit of it. People, having an association and telling Ghanaians, teaching our Ghanaians. Let me give you a typical example. Recently, you heard of the comprehensive sexual education in our teaching our young children at the class 4, little as class 4, to learn about their own sexuality,
right.
And that trying to orient them that if you're a man, you can decide to be a woman.
Yes.
Those are the things we are talking about. That we don't want those propaganda. We don't want those issues to be, to be shown even out there for us to see. And so, it is in any form of propaganda that will promote this LGBTQI++ activity in the country.
What about the promotion, especially for the media?
Yeah.
And I mean,
why do you want to promote it? Why would the media want to promote something that we said we don't want as a country? If the law goes through and the president has sent to it, and I know the president was sent to it, as the president has sent to it, why do you want to promote it?
In the interest of free expression. In
the interest of free expression. Don't you have free expression? Would you like to promote somebody who is a thief? Somebody who steals. Do you want to promote a thief in this country? We have laws against stealing. And so will you come to the studio and say, okay, I want to promote those who want to steal? No. If this law is passed, with all the amendments, we cannot promote it. And we don't want you to promote it because we don't want you to tell my child how he should live. That my child should become a man, whilst my child is a woman. We want them to know that you are a woman. God created you to be a woman, and therefore you must stay being a woman.
So you say that the latest amendments that this is going through, even though is yet to be put before the House for the consideration stage to start, you think that you have addressed all the concerns that came up after the second reading? In
fact, we had concerns from Shraj, as you mentioned. We have concerns from some people who claim to be activists of LGBT, and they brought their concern. We have concern from outside. In fact, this bill attracted close to about 200 memorandums from all over the world. And so whatever it is, we have all addressed it, we've looked at it, and where we think that it corresponds to our thinking, we allow it, and where we think it doesn't go. For instance, if somebody indulges in activity and you are giving the person 10 years, it doesn't speak very well, And so we've reduced.
So what is the punishment regime in this?
Okay, so for the original bill has different punishment regime. But now we have reduced it. We said, okay, so paragraph line 10, whatever, delete 5, and it said 3. So instead of 5 years, we are now reducing it 3 years.
3 years.
And after that, then delete the 10 years and instead 5.
But this is also subject to the approval of the House. Of course.
So there are amendments. I mean, people should realize the amendment will come out and then they'll feel free. This is one of the bills. In fact, I can tell you that our other colleagues from other West African countries are waiting for this bill to be passed, and they also pass in other West African parliaments.
But as a country, are we ready for the repercussion? The U.S. ambassador has made it clear about what we are likely to lose if we should go through this road. Are we ready? Economically, we are not independent. And so, you will have to also look at the sentiment being expressed by her and how we are able to deal with it if we are hit.
How long can we be drawers of water and hewers of wood? How long can we be holding people's apron and begging for crumbs from America? We can also start. Uganda has been sanctioned. I don't think Uganda will pass, will be like a water reverse spillage that will completely consume Mepe. Uganda is going to stand. And this is the time for Uganda to stand on their own and say, look, China closes their door. And today, China is one of the countries that everybody wants to go to. Uganda can do the same thing. And I do my heart for President Museveni. What he did is, even though their law is to the extreme, as he said, it even includes death penalty. We have not included death penalty. And therefore, I believe the international community will not penalize us because of this bill.
Let me pick your final thoughts on this matter, Dr. Ishmael Lovo, as we bring this discussion to a close.
I think that as Parliament continue to debate this bill, we must also try and, as much as possible, realize that these are people who already we have some of them among us, and therefore we must provide them with a way to be able to heal. If we believe that it is not a human right, that it is abnormal, then it means that we must also create space for them, so that those of them who may want to go some sort of reforms should be able to go through that reform. But as I indicated,
the fear is that once this is passed, then people who are into this, they now become endangered species in the country.
Yes, so that's a danger, that then they will have to go underground, and therefore the lawmakers must be conscious of some of these issues. And of course, the implementation will also be a little bit challenging, because by passing that law, you will virtually give a tool to those who are already extremely anti-gay to start to attack.
And that's the fear for a lot of people, including, I'm sure, the U.S. ambassador to Ghana.
Whereas part of the bill should also include those who unlawfully attack gay people, because in as much as you consider it as an offense, you must also be ready to provide provisions that make it difficult for people to take the law into their own hand and begin to attack gay people anywhere they found them. Okay. So we need to tread a little bit cautiously. We must consider the bill thoroughly. Of course, the U.S. ambassador should also know that Ghana is quite a relatively strong democracy. We still have the courts, in the sense that when this bill is passed and it's infringing on any of the provisions of our constitution, anybody could go to court and seek proper interpretation. And if the bill is found to be contrary to the laws of Ghana, then the judiciary will have to exercise the power of judicial review and strike out the bill. So, of course, we are still in a quite democratic society. The fact that one law has come doesn't overturn democracy. But as I indicated, we must be ready for the courts, because some people, by passing this bill, will put certain advices on their travel page. Their citizens will consume it. And of course, we must also go full swing on public diplomacy, where we also put in a lot of information on the internet about the bill, what it includes, what it does not include, so that they don't misinterpret it. One of the things is that we don't put out so much.
And briefly on that for me, yes. And briefly on that for me.
Okay. Yeah, what I'm saying is that you have passed a new law. The U.S. government will put a travel advice on their webpage, on their various platforms for their citizens to consume. So if you don't take the lead in providing details of what the bill entails and how safe investors will feel in your country, then you leave them with the leeway to kind of interpret your bill the way they will understand.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ishmael Lovo. Thank you so much for your time. We don't have much time. Let's end it here. Honorable Bedra, 30 seconds, your final words, especially for those who are a bit skeptical about what is to come.
Well, Elton, the bill will be passed. Thankfully, the Speaker of Parliament is in full support of this bill. 275 members of Parliament are full support of this bill. All we needed now is a space within this budgetary time to be able to pass this bill through. And Ghanaians will know that they've not sent us to Parliament just to do whatever we want to do, but we are listening to the good people of Ghana and doing the best for this nation.
Thank you very much. Honorable Emmanuel Bedra is a sponsor of the anti-LGBTQ bill that is currently before Ghana's Parliament, and his assurance is that once Parliament, they are hoping that they will have space on the floor to consider this bill. Well, we'll leave it when everything is settled, that we can advance the debate on this matter. We'll take a short break. When we return, Sami Jemfi is Communication Officer with the NDC. He joins me in the studio. We're going to talk about John Mohammed's 24-hour economy and other matters relating to the NDC. Stay on.